This is a Clark University podcast.
There really is a crisis of meaning and purpose in young people. Our children just matter, and who they are matters, and it's not about what they do, it's about who they are. We can get students who are going into college and through college with a better sense of themselves and what they want and who they are in community. How do we set up a process where it doesn't feel ultra competitive and it does reinforce this idea of collaboration rather than competition, to share who they are in the ways that make the most sense to them rather than make the most sense to us as older people and educators? I think that's just super important.
What does a more caring world look like? To Brennan Barnard, it's a world with more empathy. Brennan and his colleagues at the Making Caring Common project envision a world in which young people learn to care about the common good. Making Caring Common is a project of the Harvard Graduate School of Education and works with families, educators, and communities to develop children's gratitude and break down barriers to their moral growth. This includes making compassion a key component of the college admissions process. In this conversation, Emily Roper-Doten, Clark's Vice President for Undergraduate Admissions and Financial Assistance, sits down with Brennan for a conversation to unpack what college admissions counselors are seeking in prospective students and what high schoolers lose when prioritizing quantity over quality of their passions and interests. Here's Emily.
The Making Caring Common project at Harvard is such an interesting and fascinating body of work. Going from full-time as a college counselor to getting connected with the Making Caring Common project, how did that happen? How did that come about?
Just was really taken with their goals and what the Making Caring Common project was set out to do in college admission, and really kind of addressing the messages that college admission sends to young people and their families around achievement pressure and around the inequities of the process and around a lack of caring, basically. I jumped at the chance to be involved with them.
How do you, either you, Brennan, or you as part of the Making Caring Common project, define things like caring and kindness for high school students?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about kind of who you are in community, right? Like Rick Weisberg, who, like I said, who's the founder and faculty director, talks about the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. Are you familiar with the platinum rule?
No, tell me.
So, you probably know the golden rule, which is do unto others as you'd have done unto you. The platinum rule is not treating people in the way you want to be treated, but treating people in the way they want to be treated. And I really love that. Like, instead of having this kind of egocentric version of the world, like, how do we think about the other and what they need rather than what we need all the time?
Yeah, centering the other person.
Yeah, right. And so, I mean, I think that's the crux of what Making Caring Common is trying to do. Who are we in community? How do we think about other people? How do we raise kids who care about each other and the common good? And how do we reinforce that in the messages we send and signal in college admission?
I'm Melissa Hanson, a producer in Clark's communications office, and this is Challenge Change. Some students feel pressured to bulk out their resume and check as many achievement boxes as possible. Personality and purpose get lost in the process.
What do you think the student loses when they focus on that resume and achievement as opposed to the who they are or what their character is? What's the loss for the student?
Well, I think they're thinking more about outcomes than they are process, right? They're thinking more about, like, how many hours have I put into this, and how many, the quantity of it rather than the quality of it. The way that the Common App, for example, asks for activities doesn't leave much room for what does this mean to me, the why. Why am I doing this? It's just like, okay, did you hold a position? How many hours did you do it, and what was it, right? And so to a student, I think says, okay, give me the numbers, give me the qualitative piece and not really why you're doing this. I see students kind of wrestling with, does this count? Am I allowed to put this on the application? And so they're thinking of it in very kind of black or white dichotomous terms rather than, okay, who am I and who could I be in a community?
Right. On the admission side, we sometimes think about that list of activities as trying to get a sense of how does the student spend their time. But the student on the other side is trying to fill buckets. And not fill buckets in the way that students hear about in kindergarten, right? Sort of filling up your other people's buckets with good things, right? And so we got to take back that bucket metaphor.
Right. We reinforce this a lot. We as a industry, I would say, reinforce this a lot in just kind of the messages that we send and things like that. I mean, even if you go on social media, I saw an ad that was from a college prep organization. The ad said, "Profile building extracurriculars, what middle schoolers are doing today to prepare for Ivy League." That's the kind of stuff that they're inundated with. And parents are too. And so it's this like preying on fear and what do I need to do to get into college, not who do I need to be for my future. So back to this idea of a crisis of belonging and purpose, no wonder students are getting to and through college not really knowing what they want because they're so focused on the outcome that they don't think about, okay, and this is something I kind of hit on with my daughter when she was going through the process this year, is like, who do you want to be surrounded by? Where can you find a mentor, or what kind of high impact experiences are you going to have in a school that are going to help shape you and your future and what you want for yourself and who you discover yourself to be? I think we need to reset on what's important and ask really early and often why, and encourage our students to ask why, and why are you doing the things you're doing, and what do you want out of those experiences?
One strategy to address that why question is moving away from traditional grading systems and focusing on mastery. That's the approach at the Khan Lab School, where Brennan is the director of college counseling and alumni.
The school I work for is a Mastry-based school, so we don't have grades. And so the focus really is on what is a student learning? What are you excited about? How are you investing in that learning? What is the depth of their curiosity? And have they truly mastered a subject? I think we need a huge shift in how schooling is done in this country. From the college admission perspective, we need to focus more on overall student development and their level of curiosity, because I think if you talk to any college professor, they would probably love to have a student who is genuinely curious and engaged and looking to build their knowledge and build their skills, rather than one that's coming in just saying, well, how do I get to the A?
Right. Not a student who's looking for how do I get from A to B so that I can get the A, but really willing to think and jump in and wrestle with ideas and have conversations and put themselves out there in the classroom, right? There's a generosity in actually offering, talking in class, because you're creating an environment of discussion and bringing in people's thoughts and
taking intellectual risk.
I think about Clark's mission is challenge, convention, change our world. Students who are thinking about community, they're thinking about helping others, they're thinking about doing things for the greater good in big and small ways.
I think in its most perfect form, college admission is about students matching their individual mission with a mission of a college. I encourage all my students to really think about what is their mission, right? I mean, that's part of the why conversation. And then I encourage them to go look at the institutional mission, and not only just look at the institutional mission, but look at the ways that institutional mission is being lived or not lived in that school. I mean, I think this is something Clark does really well, is you do live that mission of challenging convention and change, and really looking at who the community is and what opportunities there are to grow and to push the limits.
Creating a world that values the common good means engaging with that community and building compassion.
It's not enough to care about people who are like you and people who are already kind of in your circle of concern. How do you think about people who have different perspectives and are outside your immediate circles? I really encourage students to think about, where are you going to find people who challenge you? And where are you going to find a caring community where you can engage in those conversations? So getting at some of those issues of belonging, finding some great questions about, like, how do people talk to each other on campus, or what are some of the issues that this campus is wrestling with, and how do people approach those? And ask that to a professor, ask that to a number of different students, outside just the admission office, ask that to alums or recent alums, and see if the answers you're hearing all line up, or if you're hearing really vastly different stories. I think that tells a lot.
And do they resonate? Back to your point about matching mission.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
To learn more about Clark and our mission statement, visit the Who We Are section of clarku.edu. Challenge Change is produced by Andrew Hart and Melissa Hansen for Clark University. Find other episodes wherever you listen to podcasts.
1, 2, 3, Clark!